Hello, Tony Snell. I'm delighted to be chatting with you after listening to you for the past 30 odd years on the airwaves.
Wow,
How are
that
you?
makes me feel incredibly old, like 30 odd years. Has it been that long? It feels a lot longer, I have to tell you.
Oh dear. Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations, talking about years. 25 years, a quarter of a century on Radio Merseyside.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's cool. What is it today? It's Tuesday today. So yeah, 1st of December, 97. Yeah, started there. So yeah, 25 years ago after being 13 years over the road up the other place.
Radio
So
City.
yeah, man and boy, Radio City. Yeah, good days. Enjoyed those days. Today, we had somebody being shown round from different parts of the BBC come to visit, and we go to visit them. It's and somebody was being shown round, and yes, I know Tony's been here 25 years on Thursday. Silver Jubilee. I said, oh, mate, don't make a fuss. I'm not one. I'm really not one. Not one for fuss, to be honest with you. But it'd be nice. We've got a Christmas, bit of a Christmas do on Friday. Just a few of us going for a drink. So I'll have a drink then, rather than I've been on the radio for 25 years. That's not me, that mate. I like your background, by the way. That is a good background. That.
Yeah, thanks. I was toying with putting a picture of yourself on, but I thought you won't want to look at that all the time. But
no. Well, some of your viewers to this might want to look at what's in the background here, but it's
no, I don't know.
Polarizes the city a bit, doesn't it? Yeah.
I put my blue shirt on, especially for you, Tony.
Good lad. That's what we like to see. I've got my big jacket on because I'm too tight to put the heating on in here. So that's why I've got a big coat on.
so I don't know why I'm thinking that you're actually in work at the moment, or is this home?
No,
home studio?
Home. No, at home. This is it's just a little setup because during COVID, we had to have a little setup for working from home.
Oh yeah.
But this is just kit that I had before. So in case, depending on which way the situation went with COVID and the pandemic, some colleagues work from home, others didn't. I had the option to work from home, but it's actually easier just going into the studio to do it, because if I was to work from home, that means another two people would have to go into the station, which kind of defeats the object. So, but we just had the kit set up anyway, and my son uses it for podcasts, and I use it for stuff like this. So
okay, so I'm just making a note now because I'm going to ask you a question about the home kit a bit later on, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
But for now, I was going to ask you, what you used to have on your Twitter, on your profile. You used to say, what was it? 1 million minutes of live radio, 12 of them really good. Can you recall which 12, or to make it easier?
Yeah.
What have been the highlights for you? Must have been that many.
Man, where'd you start, really? I think the 12 million minutes, I think it worked out how long I'd been doing radio for, and it worked out into the millions of minutes or whatever it was. And I just put that on as a bit of a gag. 12 minutes were really good. I was expecting a few people to say, well, I heard those 12 minutes and they were just as bad as the rest. I think highlights, I think being tested, I think, is a bit of a highlight for me, with news stories that break, sometimes in the city. It can, you never know what you're going to come into work to, really. We've had some real tragedies in the city lately as well. And I've been on the air since 84, really. Yeah. So we've gone through the whole of the Heysel, the Hillsborough situation, Rhys Jones, Jamie Bulger, and to be on the air during those was that's when you kind of grow up. That's when you learn, really. You know the right tone and that kind of thing. But I mean, live radio is fantastic. It's just nice when people say, I heard you this morning, that was a really nice thing you did, or somebody gets in touch and says, oh, that made me laugh, or I heard that woman, she was really upset, and you were really good with it. It's that kind of thing, really. They're the highlights for me. And kind of industry awards and things like that are really great when people within the industry, you get best presenter for this, that, and the other is given to you by the industry. But the things that really make a difference and the things that are really special is when somebody just comes up and said, I was feeling really down the other day, my dad had died or whatever, and I listened to the radio and you really perked me up, or you just made me feel a little bit better. See, when it comes from listeners, when it comes from people,
genuine, isn't it?
It was genuine. Yeah, there's just something real about that, to be honest. So they're the kind of highlights, when when you've made a little bit of a difference. And for us as well, just getting back to the pandemic, it was really tough for us in the pandemic because we all live in, as presenters, we all live in the community as well. We live with the listeners that we broadcast to. So their fears and their concerns and, you know, losing relatives, that happened to all of us as well. And what we found was listeners would pull us through. They were pulling us actually through those dark mornings, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock when you're going into work, and you know, the roads are empty and it's almost like a scene from a disaster movie. But you know, listeners, keep going, Snelly, mate, you're keeping us going, and that really helped us and the rest of you know, the colleagues at the station, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, so we're listening to you then. I was just going to change gear. I think I'm driving my car. I've got the radio on in the background.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? You know, it's funny, you know, because sometimes you get stopped in the street. You get stopped in the street because I'm so ancient now, and I've pretty much been doing it forever. But you'll get somebody saying, "Oh, you mentioned me 18th. Oh, you mentioned me on the radio on my 18th birthday. This is my granddaughter now." Kind of goes through the generations, but it's fantastic when stuff like that happens. It's a privilege, really. You know, it is. And the people in the city have been really good for me because, you know, you live in the city. You know what people are like. If they don't like you, they'll tell you. Or if you're a bit of a phony, they'll spot you a mile off, and they just won't accept it. So really, it's been a bit of a privilege, and you know, listeners have been really good to me over the last well, blimey, getting on for 40 years now.
Wow, yeah.
I know. It's scary, you know.
He's still casting the Snelly spells.
And now and again we do, yeah. That was just something we started years and years ago. You know, you zapped a Snell spell on me for my birthday, and now I'm you know, 50 or whatever. You know, we do them every now and again. Yeah. But kind of time moves on, and that was very much a kind of a breakfast thing, and then moving from the breakfast program to mid morning was. It was time, I think. You know, it was time to do that because I was knackered. I was pretty.
What time are you getting up in the morning?
I was getting up at 10 to 4 to be on air. Yeah, 10 to 4. Yeah, to be on air for 6, because we have content. There's a lot of content in the program. It's not like you turn up and I think I'll play 3 records or 3 songs. I think I'll play 3 tracks back to back. That'll give me 9 minutes. I'll have a cup of tea. Say this is as the weather, play another 3 songs. It's not like that at the BBC. There's got to be content. There's got to be news, and people want information. So there's interviews to do before you go on air. Some mornings, you know, I'd be doing interviews at 5 o'clock in the morning because the person you want to interview is not available at 8:30 because they're in work. So you pre-record it, edit it, get it on. So it's almost like a shift before. The easy part is being on the air. The hardest part is the build up to it and afterwards, because it's not the old show and go thing where you do a show and you go home. You know, it's a proper 8-hour shift when you're there. You know, which some people find it difficult. You're only on the air for 3 hours and then you go home. I wish. Yeah.
You get the impression that like a school teacher, you know, the unseen work, you know, the marking the homework after hours and things like that. Like, do you do the working on your quizzes and, you know, guess the year and what's in my shop? You doing all that type of thing sort of off air? Yeah,
we do. There's a certain amount of prep that goes into it. Like, you know, the little clips we'll play the interviews, or there's a movie theme. Watch this. You know, we'll do all that before. I tend to do a lot of that myself because I'm a bit of a control freak, as most radio presenters are. But I do work closely with a couple of people in work on which is a bit of a blessing. It's a luxury, really, to have somebody else to work on your show with you, and we work all that out between us. But I drive myself. I self-drive and press all the buttons, if you like, and sort all the mics out and all of that. Yeah. So that's a lot of stuff you do off air. It's almost like a proper job. I'm still trying to convince people that this is a proper job after all these years, but I don't think I'm winning. I don't think I will convince them.
That's all. Can I ask you about changes to the BBC Radio Merseyside, well, to all local radio stations?
Sure.
There's been a massive amount of cutbacks in public spending. Is that having a big effect on the morale in the station? You know, are you having to cut programs? Are you having to share with other local communities, if you like?
I think people are a little bit worried because it's livelihoods. It's like any industry, isn't it? You know, if you work in Fords, or if you work for British Gas, or if you work for Tesco or Asda or whatever, you know, change is inevitable in any organization. So yeah, of course, we've got colleagues who are a little bit worried about roles and what's going to happen, but we just don't know what's going to happen at the moment because a lot of these, a lot of the news and the ideas that have been put forward are just proposals at the moment. There's nothing that's been set in stone. But most people don't. It's not they don't like change. You kind of fear change a little bit because
Natural,
you think, what am I going to do? But it's no different to any other industry really, where change is inevitable. And I'm quite looking forward to. I mean, there will be some changes, as there were changes 4 or 5 years ago, as there were changes before that. I've been there 25 years now, so I've seen a lot of change over the years, but I don't think any industry can afford to stand still, and things do change. But it will be interesting in the new year to see what these proposals are. And they are just proposals at the moment, and the BBC and the unions are discussing that at the moment in a consultation period, so nothing's set in stone. So we'll see in the new year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can I ask you about being live on air for so long? Do you still get that like an adrenaline rush when you see that the red or the green light, live on air notice, or is it like second nature to you now?
No, I have about 3 wees before I go on
Yeah.
air. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Still get nervous. It's like, am I allowed to say that in your podcasting?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So you want to.
Yeah, I still do get nervous. Yeah, I tend to pace about a little bit like an expectant father.
Oh yeah.
Even after all these years, because it's almost like, I don't know whether you played any footy in your life or whatever.
Yeah.
It's when you're playing footy, you just want your first touch to be okay.
Oh yeah.
Once you get your first touch, you go, I'm all right now.
Yeah.
Or your first link. Because if you go on the air and go, hey, good morning, and that kind of throws you for the rest of the show then, because you're thinking, oh, I've messed up my first link. Or if you do mess up, you've got to put it right behind you. You've got to forget it. Because if you make a mistake, if you make a mistake on air, don't try and hide it. You just hold your hands up and say, I made a mistake with that. I'm sorry about that. I said that and I shouldn't have said it. It's my fault. I do apologize. Anyway, let's move on, rather than go, no, I didn't. No, it's not me. I didn't do that. Just hold your hands up and do it. But yeah, still do get a little bit nervous. But that's good. I'm not like, oh my God, I'm going on there. Oh, the red light's on. Oh, what am I going to do? I used to in when it was first starting out. But Radio City had a brilliant system in the early days for new presenters, because what they would do, they would throw you on at 2 o'clock in the morning till 6.
What? Oh, so you get used to the microphone and
yeah. So that's how you learn your trade, because it was damage limitation. You still had people listening, but you didn't have a huge audience between 2 and 6. You had a lot of lonely people at that time of the day or that time of the night. So you kind of learned your trade while you were on there. And so if you're doing 4 hours, maybe three days a week on air. Sorry, 2 till 6 in the morning, 4 hours. You were just left in there. There was nobody. There was you and a security guard and a newsreader. That was it.
Yeah.
So you just kind of had to, you were thrown in at the deep end.
Yeah.
That's how you learned your trade. And then you got a little bit more confident. And then you progressed onto maybe weekend breakfast programs or the odd little bit, being a contributor through the day on somebody else's show. And it was almost like an apprenticeship scheme, really, if you like. Yeah. And they used to do that really well, Radio City, many years ago. But then again, we were talking about changes. Changes came in, and working practices change, so that was the way it used to work. So.
Okay. Do you mentioned Radio City during your time there? The people I've spoken to have said, I'm going to be interviewing Tony Snell.
Yeah.
They've said, ask him about the scams, the telephone scams he did at Radio City. A lot of people have happy memories about them. I think you wouldn't be allowed to get away with them in this day. They were of the time.
Yeah, they were definitely of the time. I don't know whether you remember, maybe probably getting about 10 years or so now. There were a radio presenter in New Zealand, rang up a hospital. To be
Royal Family.
Royal Family member was and spoke to a nurse. And that caused all kinds of, it ended in tragedy, actually.
Yeah, killed herself, didn't she, I think?
Yeah. And I think it was Ofcom kind of put the blocks on it. But it was coming to a natural end, that kind of genre of, let's ring somebody up and tell them that the wedding's cancelled 2 hours before the due to get married. Who wants that?
Yeah,
You know,
true,
but at
yeah.
the time it was like, did you hear that? Oh, I can't believe that woman. She was crying her eyes out on the air.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit toe curling now, but at the time it was it was big. It was, you know, it was massive, you know, ringing people it sounds like torture now, doesn't it? Ringing people up and telling them that while they're in work, their house is flooded, you know. I mean, it's just like it beggars belief now. Maybe I'm a little bit older, maybe a little bit more sensible, but it just beggars belief you would do anything like that now, you know.
There's one that cracked me up. I think he rang someone. He had this beautiful pond he'd made in his back garden. And you ring him up, say, I'm from the council. I'm coming round to your house now with half a ton of sand and soil.
Yeah.
I'm going to fill a hole in your garden. I'm saying, what hole? What do you mean? It's my pond. So I'll come to fill it in. You haven't got planning permission.
That's right. All of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I know you told me we were going to have a chat. You sent me a couple of the phone scams, and I was surprised how many that I'd completely forgotten about. There was a few standout ones that, you know, I do remember: the snotty woman of Cronton and the fellow with his, the guy who owned the chippy in Liverpool who had the Mercedes, and I hit his Mercedes with my Chevette, and I said I could get him some parts from the scrappy and stuff like that. But most of them I've completely forgotten about, and I don't have them. I only have the ones that people have sent me or ones that are on YouTube. And we did so many of those phone scams. And in the beginning, they were really easy to do because there was no phone recognition. You couldn't press 1471 and find out who was calling. You know, withheld numbers, all of that didn't exist. So somebody would just write in and say, I want you to phone scam me brother. This is where he lives. This is his name. He's just got a new pond. He's got koi carp in it. He loves it. Ring him up, tell him he's got no planning permission. Say you're from the council. Yeah, all right, we'll give that a go. So, of course, the more irate that they got, the better the phone scam. I'm going to come round there, mate, and I'm going to sort you out and all of this. And, of course, people driving to work of a Friday morning when we used to put them out, it became a really big talking point of the day. But for those 5-minute scams, the amount of work that went into them was incredible. It became a real millstone in the end because as word got round, you'd end up bringing people up and going, that's Tony Snell, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I know, I've heard you, blah, blah, blah. So for every telephone scam that made it on the air, there was probably 2 or 3 that just failed, you know. But we did some fantastic ones that we just couldn't broadcast because the person that we scammed wouldn't let us put it on the air. You know, we did a brilliant one with a woman, and we rang her up, or I rang her up and said, is that so-and-so, so-and-so? Yeah, I said, you took a library book out of Central Library in Liverpool in 1972. Did I? Yeah, the fine's like, you know, 14,700, whatever it was. So, of course, she's like, I'm not paying that, and blah, blah. And she started crying, and I'm saying, look, I'm really sorry, but, you know, with the council was strapped for cash, we need to get this money. Can you pay it in installments and all of this? So this went on for about 7 minutes, and it was one of the best scams ever. And we went, it's Tony Snell, Radio City. Oh, it's not. Blah, 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 blah. I said, we're going to put this on the radio. No, you're not. You're not putting that on the radio. So they wouldn't let us put it on, which is up to them. If they say, no, you can't put me on, we can't put it on. You know, we've got to abide by what they say. But there were a few like that. That were absolutely outstanding, but never got broadcast.
Hello, City Pets.
Is that the pet shop?
Yeah.
Hey, mate, have you got any mice?
No, we're not selling any hamsters.
Hamsters?
Yeah.
They might do. Fast ones.
Pardon?
Fast ones.
Fast ones?
You got no mice?
No, only hamsters.
What colour are they?
All different colours at the moment.
Have you got any fast ones?
Fast?
Fast ones.
Fat ones?
Fast ones.
I don't understand what you're saying, I'm sorry.
Fast ones.
Fat? F-A-T?
Fast, the run quick ones.
Run quick ones, fast. Well, hamsters are hamsters, you know, we've got no table charge ones. What you want it for?
I feed them to me snake, but mice might be too big. You don't sell mice at all, no?
We don't sell mice at all, no.
Where can I get them?
We don't know, just phone round.
Who can I phone? Different pet shops?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay,
okay.
Have you got any dogs?
We don't sell pups at all, no, sorry.
Oh, what have you got?
Well, birds, hamsters, fish.
Oh, little things, little tiny things.
Yeah.
They're no good to me, mate.
Okay, sorry.
They're no good to me.
All right.
I need dogs.
Shut up.
Hello?
Hello, City Pets.
Can I speak to the man about the hamsters? I was talking to him before. Put the phone down on me.
What is it you want to know?
I want to know about the hamsters. I've changed my mind. I'm going to have one.
What you want to know?
I want to know how much they are, what colour they are, and how big they are.
Basically, price $2.75.
Aye, that's good. That's good. That's good, that.
Yeah. Colours, all colours.
I want different one. My mate's got one. I don't want one like it because they'll get mixed up.
Best thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
Is come down and have a look at them.
Where are you?
City Pets.
Have a look at them and tell me which one you think's going to be the best one and put it to one side. And make sure it's a fast one.
Well, you best coming down and having a look at them.
No, you have a little look for me. Have a little look for me.
I haven't got time, you see. I can't go doing that.
I want a fast one. Have you got any fast ones?
Okay, sorry.
Because I like to give it to me cat. I like to give it to me cat to chase.
Hello, good morning, City Pets.
This is costing me a fortune ringing you. You put the phone down on me twice. Twice you put the phone down on me. This is costing me money. All I want is a hamster. Don't put the phone down on me, mate. I want you to take one out of the cage. I want you to give it a run round the shop, and I want the fastest one.
Okay.
Okay, I'll come down. I'll have a look, and they're £2.75.
Are they? Yeah, okay.
I'll have a look. And one other thing, I need some fish.
Okay.
What kind of fish do you have in the shop?
Well, you want goldfish?
Yeah, goldfish, yeah.
Yeah, £1.10 each.
That's good, yeah, £1. What are colourful ones?
That's right, yeah, all gold.
Yeah, other fish. What are the colourful ones have you got? Like colours, nice colours for the tank.
Well, I guess your bunkins, £1.65 each.
What colour are they?
They're all multicolour, those.
Multicoloured?
Yeah.
Okay, goldfish, multicoloured. Big fish.
Got no big ones, sorry.
What's the biggest one you do?
About 3 inches.
3 inches?
Yeah.
How many of them have you got?
About 500.
Oh, that's plenty.
Okay.
I'm having a barbecue at the weekend.
All right, good man.
I'll have them on the barbecue.
All right, bye now.
And just before you go.
Yeah.
This is Tony Snell from The Breakfast Show on City FM, and you've been phone scammed. I thought you were going to lose your patience with me.
No, not at all,
I thought you were going to tell me where to go.
No, it wasn't Tony.
I thought you were going to blow it then.
No, I wasn't.
I think the biggest fish you do, 3 inches.
Well, it depends what you want them for.
You've been phone scammed on The Breakfast Show. How'd you feel?
Oh, wonderful.
I know, like, when I've listened to them on YouTube, half of the dialogue is bleeps. You know, the swear words bleeped out.
Yeah,
Can I ask you about that? Maybe with working on a live show, do you ever have that fear? I know if I ever thought to myself being on a live studio, I'd have this terrible fear of an outbreak of Tourette's or something. Is there a way of training yourself, or is there a delay or something in the broadcast?
I think it's just a natural inbuilt kind of foil that you've got. It's like if you were, if you went to church, you were talking to your local priest or whatever. You wouldn't F and Jeff, would you? But if you went to a match with your mates,
yeah, of course,
or you were in a pub, you would. So I think you've just got an automatic kind of filter, really. It did happen that there was a situation which, I mean, of all the things that I've done on air over the years, there are three things really that people pull me up on. It's the jingle, I Love Snelly in the Morning. They always talk about. That's my nephew. He's like in his late 30s now with his own kids. Yeah. He sang that. The telephone scams and the legendary spilling of the milk in the desk at Radio City, which I was on air one morning with Steve Bauer, who's doing commentary at the World Cup now. Steve, we used to work together. Yeah. And one of the big no-nos was no liquids in the studio, no drinks in the studio, because if you spill it in the desk, it's finished. Yeah. So, of course, me being smart Alec, I didn't think that applied to me. So actually, my mate passed me a carton of milk over. I went to drink it and dropped it into the desk. Once the liquid went in the desk, it automatically turned all the microphones on because the liquid made a contact and all the mics were on, but the red lights were not on. Yeah. So we thought the mics were off when they were actually on and being broadcast. Ooh. So all the mics went to air. Yeah. So I was like, "What that? That's me down the road. I'm gonna get in the sack now." And this all went out on the air, and of course, front page of the Echo and all of that stuff. Yeah. So I had to pay they charged me for the equipment. Yeah, they took money out of my wages for the next 3 years to pay for pay for the equipment. But that was like a highlight, low light. That was one of It was a bit of a double whammy, that one. Yeah.
Oh, no. Do you know, I'm just looking at a note I made earlier, looking at the home kit that you've got. A question, there's with you, your voice is your gift. That's how everyone knows you. I did a chat with another ex-Radio Merseyside presenter, Graham Mack, and he's made a living out of producing audiobooks.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of doing that yourself? You've got the kit there by the looks of it, the professional kit.
Yeah, we've got the kit to do
narrating
it.
audio.
I mean, Graham lives and breathes every second of his day is radio. You probably got that impression when you were talking. Yeah. He loves it. He's really good at what he does, Graham. Would I do all? I'm too lazy, mate, to be honest with you. I'm just too lazy. You know, I mean, I love my job.
Yeah, yeah.
I go to work. I always try and do my best in work. But when I come home, I like watching a bit of telly and going to the match and just having a bit of downtime, really. You know, the kids are grown up now. I've got my dogs. I like having a couple of pints with me mate. I play 43 times a week, so I like it. So that for me, doing the audiobook thing would like be going to work to do radio and then coming home to do radio.
Yeah,
so
switch off.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I'm doing one at the moment. Funnily enough, I'm just looking at the script over there.
Oh yeah.
And a friend of mine's dad passed away, but he was a evacuee during the Second World War, but he's written all his memoirs down.
Oh yeah.
So I'm doing that for him as a Christmas present, just as a little gift to him, and just reading his story out, you know, and putting some sound effects on it, which is nice. Yeah, but that's like a little project. That's a hobby. If it became a job where I've got a deadline to do an audio book by a week next Tuesday, you know, I think I'd be, you know, I'd miss playing footy and going to match. And, you know, I like a bit of both, really, to be honest. But yeah.
So Tony, you mentioned football. On the moment you got in your Twitter profile, Everton supporter, high blood pressure. How much does that play a part in your life?
It does.
You go to match.
Yeah. Season ticket holder with me lads. Yeah. Went with me dad. My dad passed away when I was a little lad. I was 10 when my dad passed away. He was only 42. But some of the best memories of being with my dad was going to the game. You know, the smell of the game, the smell, you know, it's not an unpleasant smell. There's a smell of the match.
The pitch, the grass I smell when I walk in.
And it was a night game. My first game was a night game, and it was against Arsenal, actually. Yeah. And I remember being in the top balcony at Goodison, and it was, you know, by the time your eyes adjust to the floodlights, and then just this deep green of this pitch, and I was 6 or 7 years of age, and I thought, it just took your breath away. It was fantastic. I think we got beat as usual, like, you know, but the pitch was fantastic. It was green and the lights and just the whole thing, you know, and you kind of just fell in love with it. But it's lovely now just to go to the game with me lads and just enjoy it with them. And I always go to my mum's before the game as well and have me dinner there.
From Anfield.
From Anfield, yeah. Well, she lives. You go out to me mum's back, and you can actually see the Sir Kenny Dalglish stand. So that's how close to the ground that my mum lives. And then we walk through Stanley Park and go and watch the Blues. Yeah,
basically for parking on match day.
Well, we get a permit. That's where I use that permit. Yeah, thanks Liverpool FC for my parking space to go to Goodison. That suits me fine. Yeah.
Can I ask you, going back before your career, your long career as a radio presenter, you started off life as a milkman and a stint as a brickie. You tell me about that.
The milkman thing was too hard. I had to get up early, but silly early at like 4 o'clock in the morning in the winter and stuff, and I thought I can't do this, so that didn't last. But then again, little did I know I would end up getting up at 4 o'clock for 30 years. You know.
BBC Radio Merseyside, Tony Snell at breakfast.
But at least I was in a warm office or a warm studio. Yeah. So I did that. Yeah, with it was just like a little part-time job, you know, just to be delivering milk. And then after that, when I left school at 16. That's probably one of my main regrets now, that I was just like, I just asked about, to be honest with you, in school, and I could have done a lot better than I did. A few, what they call them CSEs when I was in school.
I remember.
So I had a few of them, like really, really useful ones for radio, woodwork. Yeah, that's that for. And I ended up going to the careers office in Byram Street. If any of you old viewers to this, you'll remember the careers office in Byram Street.
It was a great Crosshall Street over the road from Byram Street.
It was. You're right.
I remember going there. Yeah.
It was the shops at the front, and
Exactly,
then it turned around the corner, didn't it, up the way. And I just went in, and he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Oh, I quite like music and stuff like that." He went, "Forget that. Here's an application form for the CITB, the Construction Industry Training Board. Fill that in and go and be a brickie." So I did, and ended up going to Speak, of all places. But I was a shocking bricklayer. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my work is still in Liverpool. Stuff that I built in Liverpool is still there, but it's so bad. Yeah. It's all underground. It's all in the footings because I was that rough.
Like yours you use?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it was a bit of that. And then in 1983, I ended up falling into the radio job, really, which was a bit of a strange one, because if you remember the careers office in Great Crosshall Street, you remember the job centre in Lord Street.
Yeah.
Liverpool, you remember that?
Yep.
And I remember passing there one day because I'm thinking, I can't do this bricklaying. That was rubbish. I can't do the milkman thing. I can't do the bricklaying thing, because I had to get up early and my hands are dead soft, and you've got to pick those really rough bricks up and stuff. So I was looking in the job centre, and they used to have them on cards, didn't they?
Yeah.
All the jobs were on cards, and I picked this one up, and I thought it said, "Do you like radios?" And I thought, I do actually. Yeah, I do like radios. I like taking them apart and messing around with them and recording the top 20 off the radio on a cassette and stuff like that. So I went in and I said, "Can I have an interview about this?" So I went back, and it turned out it was radio and not radios. And there was a brilliant guy called Phil Pennington, who at the time was working at Radio Merseyside. He was the deputy news editor at Radio Merseyside, which meant nothing to me. Yeah. Young people didn't listen to Radio Merseyside. It was always your mum. Or your nan or whatever. I mean, I was Radio City all the way, or whatever, because it was pop music. And
Thomas Street, is this Thomas Street or
this was this was in Paradise Street. Yeah. This was in the early 80s in Paradise Street. And he took me on. I think he saw something in me. And the project that was happening was called the Aerial Trust, which is still in the city now. And the idea was to get people who lived in the city involved in radio, because there was a lot of people from outside the area who were broadcasting to the area, which is nothing wrong with that. But if you're Radio Merseyside, surely you've got to have people from Merseyside on that station. Or if you're Radio City, you've got to have people from the city on that station. So it was a project to get young people involved in the radio industry, and it kind of, that's where it started for me from that, and it just snowballed from there, and I've never really done anything else since.
Yeah, it was a great chance to walk past the job centre then.
And the HMV I think was next door, so it was either the HMV or the job centre. So I had no money for the HMV, so I thought I'd better go and have a look in the job centre. So it was one of those. But I've been, I've been really lucky to be able to do what I do. But I've worked hard at it. I think I've put a bit of a shift in over the years. And I'm still doing it, which is a bit strange some days when you think of how much rubbish I've talked over the years, and obviously people still want to hear it.
Well, hasn't Radio Merseyside got the highest listening figures outside of any London broadcasters?
I'm not sure what the figures are at the moment, but yeah, they're healthy. They've always been healthy figures at Radio Merseyside. I think it's like Radio Newcastle or up in Glasgow. You've got those nitty gritty port cities that are not backward and coming forward. And I think people just want to be entertained. They don't. They want the news. They want to know what's going on, but they want to laugh as well. They want a bit of a laugh. They want just enough. And if you're going overboard or if you're doing too much, they'll tell you, and it's great. I mean, I love it. I read them out. I've worked with people over the years who like to read out, "It's a great show today. Oh, that's a fantastic show today. You've done. Oh, it's a lovely show." But they'll get one saying, "You're crap. You're really crap." I read them out. It's important to read them. I'll go, here's an email. Here's a text just coming from Terry Melia. He said, "What a terrible show. It's the worst radio show I've ever heard in my life." Well, thanks, Terry. Thanks very much. I'll take that as a compliment. Terry. I'll move on to the next one. Because if you take it seriously, you'll tie yourself up in knots, you know.
There's a balance there, isn't there?
That was a balance, yeah. And it's funny if you call someone out, it can be quite funny sometimes. Somebody gives you a little bit of stick, and they'll say, "You said this before," and I'll go, "No, you're wrong there, mate. I didn't." "No, you did. You definitely said that. You definitely said this about Jurgen Klopp, for example."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, no, I didn't." I said, "What I'll do, mate," I said, "give me 10 minutes." I said, I'll listen back because everything's recorded. I said, I'll listen back, and I'll tell you exactly what I said. So 10 minutes later, I'll go, I didn't say that. It was somebody else. You've been listening to somebody else, and you've got it mixed up." "Oh, I'm sorry about that, mate. Yeah, sorry about that, mate. Great show. Love your show. Thanks very much. Love your show." And it's all that. So, you know, if you do a little bit of banter, you know, you can. I mean, people know when you're having a laugh. People know when you're being serious. And I don't think you should ever take yourself too serious. You know, you should never do that. I think time's up if you start doing that.
Yeah.